Welcome back to B2VB Basics Flourish Edition, Week 12. We have data on the Gay Games, the world's largest LGBTQ plus sports cultural event held every 4 years since 1982. And we are asked to add some good annotation to whatever visualization we create. So we're given a lot of leeway here to create whatever we want, but we have to add good annotation, which I really like. I think it's a good challenge. Important for us to think about our annotation. So let's take a look at the data. Here's what we have. We have data over here in the year from 1982 to 2030, including the next 2 years, so 2026, 2030. So we don't actually have all of the data included here because obviously we're only in 2024. All right, so we have the host city, country, the start and end date, the motto. Each game had its own motto. There were featured performers or speakers, and we get over here, we have number of sports, nations participating, attendance of the number of athletes, and then sample sports included. I really thought I was going to use this in my visualization, but it turns out this is just a sampling, so it doesn't have everything. So I kind of said, well, that doesn't really make sense to use because I don't really know if it has everything. So scroll past that long column here, and then we have total attendance. Again, some of this is not available. So again, I really ended up not using this. And then we've got the link. So we don't have a ton of data here. Don't have a ton of data to use. And I'm going to show you what I did over here in Flourish. I created a story. Now I haven't done a lot of stories in Flourish, but I wanted to give this a shot. So this is what I ended up creating. I will say that I don't 100% love this. But it gives me an opportunity to create a bunch of things. So stories in Flourish are quite easy to create. You create your visualizations and just drop them into the template, which gives you a left to right horizontal story feature. You could also do, on the pro version, you can do a scrolly telling. I haven't done that yet. I'm going to save that for a different project, a different B2VB Basics week. But what I did is I just dropped some pictures in here, grabbed from Instagram and Wikipedia, and then scroll across, and then I have a little line chart here of the number of athletes where I've added some annotations to each, and we'll talk about that. And then we scroll across again, and I've got a point map here, a bubble map, where I just highlight some of the existing games, and then I put together, and the last thing is a connected scatter plot, where I put the number of nations participating, number of athletes, and you would kind of think that this would just be a straight line, right? This would just, number of nations, number of participants, number of athletes would just increase together, but they don't, as you can see. I don't know what happened in 2014. This was in Cleveland, so I'm not going to blame Cleveland for that, but I don't know what happened in 2014. And then it continues out. And you can see I did some customization with my tooltips. So I'm going to show you how to create each of these. I used the stories feature in Flourish because I wanted to do the annotations. And what's really nice in Flourish, if we go over here with the annotations, we can actually add these nice annotations in here, as you can see. So we'll come back to this in a second. I want to show you how I created each of these graphs and then how I built the story. So let's start with the cards. Cards are very simple to create in Flourish. I'm actually going to open my week 12 folder. You can see I've got a lot of stuff in here. So I'm just going to type new visualization. You can see they've added a new filter over on the side here, no search. I don't know what version this is, doesn't tell me right away, but if we go down, we can actually search for cards, which is really nice. So lots of different options here. I'm just going to click carousel just real quickly just to show you. You basically just bring this up. It's going to give you a whole set of defaults already. Very nice. And all you really need to do, if we go over to the data here, is just get an image in here. And once you have an image, then you can set all of your other controls. Lots of ways to do the images. You can see that they're pulling from Unsplash. If you don't pull from Unsplash, you get a custom photograph, and you don't have your own website, your own way to sort of store an image online, very easy to just go here, right-click in the cell, and go to Upload File. And then you can upload file, and it just goes into Flourish, and then it just references directly. So you can see here in my data, all I have is I just uploaded these images directly into Flourish. So this was really easy to create. And then I just did a bunch of tweaking with the styles here, right? I wanted this blue background, as you're going to see throughout. I don't love the colors. I try to pull it from the LGBTQ pride flag, the bright blue and the bright pink, but they kind of don't match up perfectly. So I probably would do some more changes to this visualization. But we're at the end of the week, and I wanted to make sure that I put this out. Okay, so that's the card. So create the card, good to go. Let's go over to the line chart. Okay, the line chart is very simple. Now here's the data. Now here's the one thing I'll remind you of, that when you bring the data in to Flourish, it's not particularly exceptionally smart in how it reads in the data. So you need to do some work in the data side. So what I did when I brought this data in, if I go back to my Excel file, here's me sort of playing around a little bit, but this is the data that I brought in, and you're going to see over here on attendance that I actually just formatted this data over here. So if I zoom in on that field, notice that it's right aligned and there's no commas. If I go back over to the raw data and bring this over, you can see that it's in text here. So I wanted to make sure that when I bring that in, it has some commas here, right? So I needed to fix all this stuff. So I bring this in just as a straight number, and then in this case, Flourish realized that it is a number, so I'll set to ghost. But that did take me a few minutes to sort of figure out. When I made the line chart, just as one thing, I wanted to make this a step, because this, I don't know, I mean, it's fine, but I kind of like the step, to give it this sense that each is an individual game. And then the rest is just your basic formatting. When it comes to making a line chart, which we created in week 1, I flattened out the x-axis labels. Let me show you that over here. So I made sure if I delete this, you're going to see that Flourish is going to sort of round it out. So I wanted to make sure that I went from, and you can undo here, Control Z, 2023. I want that to go there. And then in the styling, I put the axis labels to 0. So a bunch of things to do over here. Other than that, I didn't do a ton of work on the pop-ups here. Probably should fix that. Attendance, athletes. I mean, maybe that's okay. But you can see I've got the blue background and the pink color. Okay, that's your line chart. Let's go to the bubble map. Now here, again, this wasn't particularly difficult, but it took me a moment to figure out how to make this. So 2 things you kind of need, and let me go back to week 12 and open up a new visualization. My instinct was that this was going to be in the projection map, that it's just a world with points. But the world with points or the world with spikes is set up at the country level, not at the city level. So to do it at the city level, I would have to bring up my own shapefile. Alternatively, what I did was I went down to a 3D map. I went down here, and I used, in this case, I used if I can remember where it is, the growing point map. Okay, so why not the simple point map? So I started with the simple point map. That just gives you dots on each city. What I want to do is scale the dots corresponding to the number of athletes. So the growing point map, it's kind of neat. It does take a long time to load because there's a lot of data in the default one. But what's nice about it is you can basically show these dots sort of growing over time. Now, I don't have time series data, but that's okay, because all I can do is just set up the map to just have the last bit. And as you can see, you're just looking at a blank screen right now. And this is how long it kind of takes. And so if I try to bring this over, you see this takes a while for it to load. So another thing to consider when you're making your maps. You can see these dots are sized differently. So when I created my map, I did the same thing. But here's the attendance data. And I set this up in my points. So I just dropped in my data here, and I set latitude and longitude, and then the G is for the athletes. Okay, so latitude and longitude, I would definitely not suggest this, but I just use an online tool to just get the longitude, latitude of each of these cities. Because, we're doing like a dozen cities. I don't mind doing a little bit of manual work. If I had 100 cities or 200 cities, I would definitely use a coding language to do that, right? Like use Esri or R or something like that. I definitely wouldn't do this using some manual online tool, unless you could do it as a batch, which I didn't bother doing. But okay, so anyway, all that being said, I used this template for this particular map. So I bring this in. You can see I still don't love the colors. I'm not quite there on the colors. but I changed the colors to light blue and dark blue, and the points are brought in with the pink, and I just made them a little bit bigger so they would fit. And so now I've got all my maps here. Now I want to show you one more thing before I move on. On the pop-ups, I really spent a little bit more time on the pop-ups here. And just to show you, I have the title, I have the city and the country, I have the athletes, and then I put a link. So what you can do on these pop-ups is you can actually get the name of the games, and then you can actually click, and this will open a new tab. Oop, I guess I put the wrong link in there. I don't want that. So let's see if I got the right link in some of this. So let's see if I open this here. Nope, I guess I have the wrong link in there. So I'm gonna have to fix that. So let's see. So if I go back, I should have my link, and I think that might be the problem. Is I don't actually have the link in here, so I don't actually know what it's using. So it's probably just a dead link. So I will have to add the link after this video. So this is what we're doing, just learning, right? So, but as you can see here, it's just a little bit of HTML code. All I need to do is fill out that, put that series in there and get that link, and I'll be set to go. It'll take me 2 seconds. Finally, connected scatter plot. Really easy. It's built in. It's a default. There is just one little trick here, and that is you need to figure out which series you want to connect with the line. And this one took me a little bit of time to figure out. Let me show you why. If I go back again to week 12, and we go to a new visualization, and we go down to the connected scatter plot down here over on the right. It's interesting how the default is set up. So you can select by different country here, and the colors are by region. So when you go into the data, the X values are GDP per capita, the Y values are life expectancy, the name, that's the year. So if I take the name off, all that does is remove the label. That's all that's doing. So the name is just the year label. So I put that back on for a second. Color we don't need to worry about. The series is the key piece here. So the series is the name of each country. So if I take, and I'm going to take this filter off first, so you can see it's going to give me all of the countries. So that's everything. If I take this off, because I took the filter off, it doesn't really do anything. So let's put the filter back on so you can see how this works. But you can see here, it doesn't connect the dots. So that's the key, is the series connect with the line. And here, we're going to connect it within each country. So here I'm just going to put in the letter A, and so that's going to connect it for, say, Brazil, right? So if we go back to our connected scatter plot, we need a way to show that we want to connect the lines, or the dots. We want to connect the dots with a line, connect the dots for all of these data. So I created just a new series called name that I just made the number 1, so that Flourish knows that all of these are for that series. And once I do that, then it connects. And I kept the line, I kept the labels on, and so on and so forth, and did a little bit with the, let's see if I actually got the, if I got the links here. Nope, still have broken links. So, okay, so still stuff to fix in this visualization. All that being said, let's go to our story, because this is where the actual, not fun part, but this is where the annotation part comes in. So actually, let's take a pause here, take a breath. So created those 4 graphs. So this is where I'm going to pause. And when we come back, so create those 4 graphs or whatever graphs you're creating, we come back after the break, we will make the story. So here I'm going to pause, come on back, and we'll make the story together. Okay, welcome back. Now we're going to create a story. So many ways to do this. You can actually go into one of your charts and just say create a story, or you can go into your dashboard and just say create new story. So I'm just going to create new story, and it's very easy. You just say choose a visualization. And so now here's the part where you have to sort of like navigate through all of your charts. So I'm going to pick my cards, and they drop right in. Very nice. Let's add a new slide, choose a visualization. And I think now I have the line chart, so I'm going to add the line. And there's my line chart. Okay, so now we get the first part where we can do the annotation. And this is a really nice feature of Flourish, although you do have to go into the story section to do this annotation. So let me show you how to do that, and I want to show you just one little trick. So in the story, I've dropped my graph in, I click the little pencil icon here, and then it says select an annotation or create a new annotation by clicking anywhere in the viz. So let's just click on this low point here, and I'll click just below it so the arrow sort of points to it. So I'm going to click there, and it's going to give me some relatively simple things to change. So type your annotation. So we'll just say 2014 games in Cleveland had fewest number of athletes. Okay, so we got that in, and I thought more about my annotations in the final one. So a few things we can change here. As you can see, we've got a curved arrow. I'm a sucker for curved arrows. I love curved arrows. The thing about the curved arrow here is that it kind of depends where your annotation goes. So as you can see in my final one, we go over here, I didn't use the curved arrows because I couldn't quite get them to fit. But let me just show you how you can play with this. So you can change your arrow to straight. You sort of do this cool kind of connector thing, or you can kind of make it as like a breaker like that. We'll just keep it curved for now. You can change the marker type. So you want to actually add like a dot to that, or a circle around it, or a square around it. That's kind of cool. I'll just say I don't need one. You can also change the text. I don't love this outline here. I mean, it does stand out a little bit, but I don't think I really need it. So you can change it to none, or you can give it a little bit of a background, and then you can change the background color. A lot of cool stuff here. You can change it to be normal or bold. I'll go normal. You can change the color, the size, and you change the width. You could also move this around. If you grab it, you can move it around, and you can see how the arrow is going to change. Now you can't really control the swoopiness or where the arrow points to. So that's like a bit of a challenge. But you can, if you get it here, let's see, if you get it here and you're like, oh, that doesn't quite point, you can see how your cursor changes to the finger. You just sort of move the whole thing over a little bit and get that set up. And then you can change how it works on different devices. So if you wanted to show differently on different tools, you can. And then we just close it out. And that's how we would add an annotation to the chart. So really nice. So let's go over here. As you can see, if I go back and change, let's say the New York one here. If I change that to a curved arrow, see how it like was over the line? And I couldn't quite, as you can see, I can't quite get it to, I want it to curve the opposite way here. And I couldn't quite get it to curve the opposite way to point right this direction. So I went to this one I thought was kind of nice. I didn't change the color. And I also, as you can see, have a little bit of trouble getting that arrow. Like I just wanted to point straight up here. Couldn't quite get that. These are the things the tool doesn't let you do. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. Okay, let's go. I think that's pretty much it. As you can see here, I just added the background to this, just pointing to a few of them. Again, I'm not loving my colors here, but I'm not going to overthink this because just trying to learn. And then I didn't actually add any annotations here. I tried to do a good title. I wanted to show you one last thing because the annotation's kind of nice in Flourish, but you can't add, if I go back here, you can't add these types of annotations in the core tool. So when you build your line chart, you can't do the annotation like this. You can only do it in the story version. So if I, let's say, delete my cards. So let's say I just want to have this graph and I want to have a bunch of annotations, right? So I want to add another annotation here and I want to say, blah, 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 right? Whatever I have my annotations here. And this is the graph that I want to publish, but I don't want this thing here. Well, here's a little trick. So if you go over to the slides, little wheel here, the little gear icon next to slides, and go into navigation style and say no navigation, it turns that off, and now I just have my graph with my annotation. So if you have a single graph that you want to add annotation to in Flourish, drop it into a story, turn the navigation off, and then you're just going to have your graph and you'll be all set to go. So as you can see, I built a lot of stuff here, tried to pull it all together into a single story. I still have some work to do to fix my links, but I'd be curious to see what you are creating. Make sure you tag me and Eric Balish and use the B2VB hashtag when you share, and make sure you go over to Eric's site to the main page to put your visualization in so others can see it. Really excited to see what folks are starting to build in Flourish with the Back to Viz Basics project. So again, make sure you reach out, subscribe to this channel so you can see all the visualizations and all the videos, and I'll have more for you soon.